So in the last video, we just did a real quick talk about moving from discomfort, comfortably uncomfortable, into discomfort, into feeling what is making us uncomfortable and allowing it to move out. And again, this takes us back a few videos to the idea of practical application and how do we use our focus and our tools in order to move through this discomfort and to let go of the resistance, because the resistance is real and it is strong and it is scary and it feels like you're dying sometimes. That's real. The headaches, the pain in the chest, the pain in the shoulders, the pain in the gut, the digestive stuff that happens. That's all affected by the energy that we're carrying in our body, and that energy beginning to try to move for the first time in a long time. First time ever sometimes. Some of those core wounds are very, very deep, and we don't know how to let them go. We've always, as far as we can remember, had that there. And there's a belief in the mind that says to let that go is not safe. And so how do we nurture ourselves in a way? How do we meet that part of us that had that trauma, that had that emotional upheaval, that didn't know how to deal with it in the moment? How do we bring our grown-up strengths and what we've learned through our experiences and the tools that we've collected, how do we bring those things now to the table and apply them to our healing? How do we ask for the help, for the guidance? How do we keep from going crazy in some cases? Because it can be so overwhelming. Having a good support system, people who understand you, people who are on your level, not people who don't get what you're doing or think you're silly or question everything you do, but people who truly get it. And sometimes you don't know these people. Sometimes they're not your neighbor down the street or anyone that you've ever even met. Sometimes they're the people that you've met online, professionals who are willing to support you, that offer even free services. The support is out there. Believe me, when I started this journey 20 years ago, finding help was almost impossible. Everyone thought I was nuts. Fortunately, people are waking up. People are getting it. People are healing themselves, and they see the value and they want to help others heal. Look for those folks who are content. Look for those folks who are not desperately wanting to help you, but are holding space. Look for those folks who have been through what you're going through. They're going to be able to hold space for you like no one else. Be careful of those folks who are exactly where you are. They want to help. They know some stuff. They can be helpful. But if you're not careful, you will actually begin to be their healer instead of vice versa. And it's an understanding that we are actually all our own healers. And that while others may be able to provide advice or support or just a safe place to be heard, the ultimate healing, the answers, what needs to be applied, what makes sense for us, is something only we know. Folks can come along and they can sort of say, hey, have you looked at this? And let me give you a hug and let me send you some energy to help you find your way. The solution resides within you and your willingness to meet the resistance that you have built, to meet the discomfort, to sit with it, to let it heal, to feel it, to feel it so it can pass, to acknowledge it. Sometimes it passes like a kidney stone, and sometimes it passes as easily as a breath. And the better we get at practicing this, the less painful and uncomfortable it becomes, because we become certain of what's going to be on the other side of that pain. And through that certainty, we release so much of our resistance. And what once seemed impossible now happens in a couple breaths. This is not easy. This is not for the faint at heart. This is not for those who aren't ready. And it's okay to not be ready, but it's also very important to be honest about that. Otherwise, you're going to create a whole lot of pain for yourself. For those of us who are sort of stuck somewhere in the middle, I'm ready, but I'm terrified. Be honest with yourself about that. For those of us who aren't ready, those of us who are just frozen, we see the reason to move. We'd like to move, but we are just frozen. Be honest with yourself about that. Meet yourself where you are. Hold space for that. I'm stuck here, and I don't want to be. What is that about? Where is that coming from? Don't try to think the answer. Let it bubble up. Let it come from the heart. All of the feelings, answers to those things are going to be in the heart space. It's moving from needing to think about it to allowing yourself to feel it, to notice where it comes from, to be more aware of what you're holding. Thoughts can be very helpful in certain situations. Thoughts can be so unhelpful in other situations. Thoughts are programming based on evidence of what has already happened. Knowledge, logic. The heart doesn't care about those things so much. The heart feels. The heart wants to understand the feelings. The heart wants to feel more feelings. When the brain overpowers the heart closes. The emotions stop flowing. Fear settles in. And we become stuck, stagnant. And stagnance is death. The body begins to shut down. The mind doesn't think as clearly. The heart's closed and the emotions are very heavy. Can we sit with ourselves in that space and begin to explore? What is the mind doing? And is that working? How do we begin to change the mind? What is the heart doing? And is that working? How do we begin to give the heart permission to be heard, to be seen, to show up, to be open? How do we create a sense of security in ourselves that allows us to be vulnerable in this way? How do we sit with the discomfort of vulnerability as we practice it? There's so many deep layers once we dive in. We've been so busy out here noticing all of this. All of that is just a distraction from all the layers inside that need to be addressed. How do I begin to love even the parts of me that are the most fearful, that are the most scared, the most stubborn, the most jealous, the most afraid, the most out of alignment. How do I love those parts back to where they need to be? How do I not misinterpret what that means? It's not easy. Journal, reflect, pray, hold space, find other like-minded folks. Notice who's on your level and who's learning with you versus those who have already mastered this level and can truly hold compassion and space versus those who don't even know this level exists and will judge and condemn you. Find out who's in your corner. And if you find yourself in your corner alone, remember there are so many others out there that feel that way. Reach out. Put yourself out there in some way. It's okay. Wherever you are, it's okay. The work is to meet yourself there. In your discomfort, in your uncertainty, in what feels impossible. And begin to nudge. Begin to notice. Begin to get curious in a new and different way. And as you do, begin to apply some tools. Begin to breathe deeply. Begin to give yourself permission to feel. And maybe at first you really need to do this in a very controlled way in order to feel safe. Maybe you can only do this for 5 minutes. Maybe you can only do so much. Maybe there's a signal that comes up that says, enough. That's okay. Put a bookmark in it. Set it on the shelf. Sit with yourself for a moment. Give yourself permission to take a break. Then also sit with that part of you and say, this is all the work we can do today, but I see you and I'm coming back and we're going to work through this. Trusting yourself begins with taking care of yourself. Taking care of yourself means discipline and making promises to yourself that you keep. Be present. Notice what's needed. Notice what's working. Noticing what you need help with without feeling guilty or ashamed. Noticing when you feel guilty and ashamed and sitting with that. We're not denying anything anymore. We're noticing. We're giving it meaning. We're noticing our resistance toward it. And we're asking ourselves, is that helpful? There's no right or wrong. There's no fast track or slow track or getting behind. There's simply relaxing, allowing what is to be, and then asking yourself, what else? What else is there? What else do I need? What else do I see? Does this make sense? Am I overthinking it? Do I need to step back? Do I need to lean in? Maybe this isn't the best time. Can I make a better time? Are you noticing there aren't a lot of answers that I'm giving, but there are a whole lot of questions? The answers can only come from you, and they can only come in the present moment. What's good once may not work 2 and 3 and 4 times later. And it may work again at the 5th time. Being present helps us to decide. Being present helps us to answer the questions that need to be answered to get us to where we're going. Ask you on this extended weekend to slow down, take a break, hold space, breathe, get some sun, drink your water, soak your feet, do what feels better. Notice your reaction to that. Notice the worry that you might be avoiding something. Ask yourself if it's real. Be present. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to acknowledge what's coming out. And if it gets too scary, pull back a little and ask what you need now. It's okay. Many of you that I've worked with, we've used the reference of treating yourself like a toddler in this stage. How would you react to a fearful toddler? How would you react to a toddler who is having a meltdown because they're uncomfortable? How would you react? You certainly wouldn't shame them or blame them or tell them to suck it up or get over it. And if you would, then that's something else to look at altogether. We treat ourselves the way that others have treated us. And we sit and we blame them for having treated us that way, but we do not change the way that we treat ourselves. That's accountability. That's where the rubber meets the road and change happens. I know when we're stuck it feels impossible. But I promise you, in 42 years, I've faced a lot of impossible moments that I thought I would never see the other side of. And in 42 years, I've seen the other side of every one of those moments. And it has always, always been welcomed. I'm always glad that I pushed through. I'm always glad that I sat with it and I didn't distract. I'm always glad that I came back to it, that I built on it, that I listened. I'm always glad that I didn't force it, that I found that balance. It's never easy, but it's always worth it. I send you all the love in my heart that can help to support you to opening your own heart. I wish you the best. I encourage you to believe in yourself and to remember what you've learned and to apply those things. Sometimes you're white-knuckling it and all you can do is say, thank you for this next breath. Thank you for this next breath. Thank you for this next breath. But when you get through that, remember to say, thank you for this moment. Thank you for this opportunity to celebrate the other side. Namaste, my sweet friends. It's never easy, but it's always worth it. Until next time.